application with CV to venture out into the world of work is an experience worth looking out for. The words of work gives you an opportunity to put to practice all that you have learned throughout school, college, and university days. It also gives an opportunity to acquire new skills and to be fruitful, contributing members of society before you enter the world of work. You have to consider a few points. First of all, you have to decide a kind of job you want to do. This will depend on your educational background or qualification, training priorities in life. You may also need to take into account your family needs and desires. After all, what are we without a family? It is they who give us our identity and help us define our missions in life or use our life goals. You must have noticed that some people are more successful than in life. Have you ever thought why? This is because sometimes this is because people make career choices as distinguished between job and career. Have you wondered about distinction between a job and a career? A job is essentially the work which one takes up and gets paid for the same. If one looks at only a job, then one will be having a short term perspective and chasing short term goals. But to pursue a career, one need to plan, train, and execute priority and properly also. Pursuing a career in a long term gain process and calls for dedication, passion, and sometimes sacrifice. So you should decide whether your object is job and money or job. Money coupled with growth. If it is latter, then you will have to make career choices, set life goals, and build up interpersonal relationships. You would have to focus on real life skills and long term goals and wish to be achieved. A job application is nothing but a letter by a candidate to the employer in response to an advertisement for a job. This letter introduces the candidate to the prospective employer. For most jobs, you will need to apply in writing. This normally means preparing two items a letter of application and your resume, about which you will learn in subsequent chapter. If you are applying for a government job, then you may also need to qualify for some selection criteria. A written application generally decide written application generally form a key part of an employer's selection process. The employers use selection process to decide who they should interview for a job by assessing skills, qualities, experience, and qualifications. Some employers will also use unique selection process to identify written communication skills if they are important for jobs. Before you begin your written application, ensure you have found out about the employer. Means one should know about the employer, where he is going to apply, and the position you are applying for. Then identify which of your skills, attributes, knowledge, experience, and qualifications are going to appeal to the employer most. Then, while writing the job application, we have the structure of the application letter. Then, while writing the job application, one should focus on the structure of the application letter. An application letter for a position advertised will have the following components. These following components that one should follow, and while following these things, we have to apply for a particular job. Part of the introduction is there. This part of the introduction, where in this section the candidate may make reference to the advertisement and position he is applying for. Then the second part is that is of the body. In this section, the candidate talks briefly about how suited he is for the job. The candidate talks about his educational qualifications, skills, and trainings. In the part of the conclusion, the candidate concludes the letter by politely seeking the employer's attention and saying that he looks forward to working with the employer concerned. Here we have some of the examples of the application, where first of all you have to write to whom you are going to write, that is the employer. Then subject, then introduction, main body, and the concluding part. Then at last, thanking you, yours faithfully, your name, address, contact number, contact mail ID. Such things are also expected, and in number of cases, if your application is with CV, then these things appears in your CV. Preparing for the world of work. Before you go out to seek employment, you should do a little reflective thinking on yourself. You should analyze your strengths and weaknesses. You should take stock of your skills and find out which company might employ you. You should then find out about your prospective employer so that if called for an interview, you should be able to answer questions like how do you think you will able to contribute to the company's growth. Finally, you should have a fairly rough idea about the monetary package you can expect from your employer so that when asked about expected salary you can quote your expectations. Then about the CV, all CVs contains more or less the same information, but the manners of sequence in which it is prepared or presented in different ways. On the basis of the style and presenting information, CVs can be categorized on chronological CV, functional CV, combination CV, CV with profile, targeted CV, mini CV, non-traditional CV, etc. Such type of the CV are there. Each of these types has its own use and purpose. Therefore, choose the type of the CV that suits your pursuit or the purpose and context of your application. In this unit, two main types of the CVs, that is the chronological CV and functional CV, are discussed in detail and are important for our syllabus. The first one is chronological CV. In this CV, it is the most common and popular format of the writing CVs. In this format, you will list details of your educational qualification, experience, special skills, training, program experience, then accompaniment, then so on, and in reverse, a chronological order, the most recent qualification or experience first, and then remaining later in chronological order. As a chronological CV is used to draw attention of an employer to your academic and professional qualifications. It is used to project an overall summary of your career rather than to highlight any specific aspect. A chronological CV works best if you are still a student or fresh graduate and therefore do not have any special or specific skills to highlight. It will also work well for those who have steady career graph and have been in the same field of study or work over a period of time and are applying for a position in the same field. However, if there are gaps in your educational or career, or if you have shifted from one field to another too often, a chronological CV is not suitable, as it calls the prospective employer's attention to the gaps. What to include? A chronological CV usually comprises 6 sections it may include personal information, education, experience, skill, interest and achievements, references. Such things are expected in the chronological CV, and in this personal information here, name, date of birth, age, postal address, contact number, email address, postal address, these things sex, these things are expected in your personal information. Then education, where you have to mention the list of the most recent qualification at first and the remaining in the sequence in chronological order. Then we have to mention experience, list the most recent experience first, and then provide the name of your employer, job title, your position in chronological order. Then while dealing with the same, you have to mention about the skill, proficiency, language, computer skills, computer languages, or the other programs you may know. Then you have to focus on your achievements and interest. Achievements and interest means your awards, patents, such things are there. And if some interests are there, that is, one may have the interest of trekking, wandering, seeing cinemas, collecting stamp papers, collecting old coins, collecting old notes, currencies, and then at last you have to give the reference of an older family friend who has known you for some time. Make sure that these referees are informed and are willing to give your reference. Provide their contact number, email address, and mailing address, and residential address. Such things are expected while writing the job application. Later on, we have the another part, that is of the functional CV. We will continue in the same in the next lecture. Okay.